Alright, so this is funny. Just a few days ago I was talking about an issue with the UBI being that it would likely become simply a competition between politicians to say a bigger number. You want to give $1,000 a month, I'll give $1,100. You want to give $1,100, but I think it needs to be $1,200. $1,200 isn't progressive enough, I'll go for $1,300, and so on it will go. And no, whatever the VAT tax is won't keep that in check. Give me a break. It'll simply be increased right along with it, or they'll just ignore it. Debts, deficit, and selling treasuries to the Fed is not something our government shies away from. So to the Yang gangers that gave me a slight brigade on my Yang video a few days ago, I would say you give entirely too much credit to our government and you think of them as far more responsible as they actually are. Not sure how many times they have to let you down before your default position is distrust against them, but I digress. So anyway, what we've been hearing for a while now as far as minimum wage is concerned, we've been hearing that it needs to be increased to $15 an hour. Yeah, a 16-year-old working at a movie theater handing out popcorn should be making $15 an hour. That makes a lot of sense. But anyway, we've been told it needs to be increased to $15 an hour, but now we have Rashida Tlaib calling for $20 an hour. A $20 an hour minimum wage. If you advocate for this, the sheer insanity of it should disqualify you from holding any office. The blatant inability to think these things through with a clear mind is just unacceptable at this point. Do you think any 15 or 16-year-old will ever hold a position almost anywhere again? Do you think any small business with a small profit margin would ever hire a low-skilled high school or college student ever again? I used to work at a concession stand at a pool as a 15-year-old kid. I guarantee you I would have never been able to work there if the guy who ran the place would have had to pay me $20 an hour. I handed out pretzels and cotton candy to people and had to give people the correct change. That's all I did. If we had a $15 minimum wage, let alone a $20 minimum wage, that job would have been snuffed out of existence. If a $15 minimum wage is insane, I have no idea what to call a $20 minimum wage. But here, let me do Rashida Tlaib a little favor. I'll actually think a little bit for her and give her an idea that might just mitigate a small slice of the insanity she is spewing. Instead of advocating for a flat $20 minimum wage, at least say that you're only eligible for a $20 minimum wage once you hit the age of 20 or 21. Then the general population might be able to, at the very least, convince themselves that you're not completely out of your mind. That would actually be a sign that you've at least put a little bit of thought into this, that you're trying to mitigate some of the disastrous effects this would have, and that you're not just throwing out a bigger number than everyone else, which is clearly what she's doing, because as it stands now, it's too obvious that that's all you're doing. They say $15, you add a couple bucks, and then you get to stand up there and pretend you're the real thinker, you're the real progressive, you're the real politician that has all the answers. This is simple pandering. That is all this is. But if you ever actually got your way, the people you're trying to help would be utterly devastated. If they even got to keep their job, you should not be shocked one bit if they went from working 40 hours a week to 10 hours a week. If you want to create a situation where everyone has to have multiple jobs, a $20 minimum wage would be the perfect way to do it. But of course, that would be terrible, as you'd have a much larger pool of people seeking a second or third job just to be working 40 hours a week, which means a lot of people wouldn't even be able to actually get that second or third job, as it would be so competitive because the price of labor has just skyrocketed due to this minimum wage. All in all, this whole thing is like clockwork. As I've said, this just becomes a competition among politicians over who can advocate for the biggest minimum wage. It's both sad but terribly, terribly predictable. But that is all for now. Like, subscribe, and share this video, please, and also take it easy. So long.